So the Los Angeles Lakers, over the last course of a few years, they've really had many opportunities to really build on something that they've had. Whether that's when they had D'Angelo Russell and Julius Randle, and they got Braden Ingram, that trio alone. They had Jordan Clarkson. They had Alex Caruso, Lonzo Ball, Kuzma. The Los Angeles Lakers really have given out on many great players over the years that they've had on this team. Think about it. Obviously, we know not all these guys would all be on the same team at once, at the same time. But if they still built their core around some of these guys like Braden Ingram, Julius Randle, maybe Lonzo Ball in that picture, this team would still be a really, really great team that is in that rebuilding phase, but that can possibly compete as a playoff team one day if that was the case. If they had some of those guys, I'm not going to say obviously that that's always going to be true or that is the true story of things. But for the Lakers, they've definitely missed out on a great opportunity to really build around a great young core of players and possibly add in someone still like a LeBron and still build for the future. But now the Lakers are in a situation where they don't have really any young players on their team. They're one of the oldest teams, if not the oldest, I believe, in the NBA. And, well, the season shows and speaks for itself. And the worst decision that they ever made, in my opinion, was trading for Russell Westbrook. But I'm going to go more in depth into this. Let's get into it. So, many people who I know have been really talking about this similar topic. I've heard it literally yesterday. Somebody was talking about this. But, one thing I've definitely noticed, if not, I think everybody, come on, it's common sense. All of us know that the Lakers and their players who they drafted over the years, how successful they've been since they've been out of Los Angeles. And it's like, is there an effect on the young players getting drafted to the Lakers? Because let's think about it. The Lakers are known for what? Winning NBA championships. For them, it's championship or bust. And that is the reality and expectation when it comes to playing for the purple and gold. And let's think about it, man. Come on now. The Lakers, they're not really ever known for being a great rebuilding franchise. They're not really into rebuilding. If anything, if they rebuild, they're still trying to acquire a superstar level player on their roster. I mean, look at just a few seasons ago when they got LeBron James on this team. They knew from that point on that they were going to be building a championship level team from that point on. And that's why they pulled the ropes on trading away Braden Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart for who? Anthony Davis. And we've seen how that situation has worked out so far. They did end up winning an NBA championship, but now, they're not really doing their best. But regardless of that point on, the Lakers over the years have drafted many, many great players. And the truth is that none of these guys are part of this team anymore. All of them have found success elsewhere. And maybe is it because of the pressure? Is it because of the expectation that comes with playing for the Lakers? I don't know. But I'm going to obviously tell you who all these guys are and how they found success elsewhere. Let's get into it. The first guy who I'm going to start off with is Julius Randle, who was drafted on the Lakers back in 2014 was Julius Randle. And as we all know, Julius Randle missed his first season of play because he had an injury. And he came back that next season and he played pretty well. He didn't play the greatest, but he put up decent numbers. And across his career with the Lakers, year 2, he averaged 11.3 points. Year 3, 13.2. Year 4, 16.1. And Julius Randle had a lot of potential around him. He was a really great player. The Lakers, he was a really good player on that team. And he had a lot of potential to really grow into something as a player. But the Lakers decided to move on from Julius Randle. And Julius Randle ended up obviously going to the New Orleans Pelicans. And he put up 21.4 points a game. And he shot a way more efficient from the field. His numbers overall across the charts were a lot more better. And last season, he even won a most improved player. And he's on the New York Knicks now. And he's found way more success in his NBA career right now. On to the next person who was drafted that same year as Julius Randle. But I believe Jordan Clarkson was drafted in the second round of the NBA draft. Jordan Clarkson came out of the gate and surprised really everyone with his ability to score, and he's still doing that to this day. But this guy, when he was earlier on in his career for the Lakers, that's what he was doing. He was a really big time scorer. And really his numbers across the charts for the Lakers were really good. But the Lakers, they decided to move on from him as well. And if you remember, he was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers in that big trade package that the Cavaliers were doing when they were basically reconstructing their entire team when they had LeBron James still at the time on there. Jordan Clarkson was a part of that trade. But during his time with the Lakers, we'll look at his numbers. Here's a list of what his numbers looked like when he was in the Lakers. And now, look at his numbers now compared to when he was on the Lakers. Yes, that one season in Cleveland, he did kind of struggle. But after that, he averaged 16.8 points that next season. And from then on out, his career has been pretty consistent. He's not only won Sixth Man of the Year, but he is really one of the Jazz best players on that team. When you need buckets, all you gotta do is call Jordan Clarkson to get you some, because this guy's one of the best scorers off the bench in the entire NBA. Moving on to 2015, D'Angelo Russell. Man, one of my favorite guys. D'Angelo Russell really had a lot of expectations. This guy was the second pick in the 2015 NBA draft for the Lakers. And D'Angelo Russell had a lot of expectations placed on him. He's coming in, especially once Kobe was about to retire. And he was definitely coming into a position where he had to really be that guy for this Lakers team, being the second pick in the NBA draft. And well, when we look at his numbers in his first season, he was definitely mediocre. He only averaged 13.2 points a game on 41% shooting from the field for the Lakers team. He did make an all-rookie NBA team. But regardless of that point on, D'Angelo Russell really never found success for the Lakers. And obviously, with the whole situation with Nick Young and the snitching, that definitely didn't really, help out at all. So for D'Angelo Russell, because of all that drama and everything he was bringing to the Lakers and things of that nature, they decided to trade him to the Brooklyn Nets. And well, for the Brooklyn Nets from that point on, D'Angelo Russell found a lot of success. His numbers, his first season in Brooklyn, were only about 15.5 points per game. But that next season after that, D'Angelo Russell took a huge step up, and he had a 21.1 point per average in scoring. And that was good enough for him to make an all-star team, and for a Brooklyn Nets team to have a 42-40 record. He helped lead that team to a playoff contending team. And, this team was one of the most hyped teams in the entire NBA. You saw them on the sidelines doing a little dance. And stuff. Man, it was actually a really good time to be a Brooklyn Nets fan during that time and for the future. You can say because of D'Angelo Russell is the reason why the Brooklyn Nets are the team that they are today. If they didn't have him on that roster, none of these moves really wouldn't be significant for Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, all these guys coming in to this team today. For D'Angelo Russell, he's found success throughout his NBA career. He is kind of struggling now a bit, but his numbers from being on the Lakers to now being on the Minnesota Timberwolves and his time on the Brooklyn Nets and the Golden State Warriors, he's found a lot more success in his NBA career, and the numbers, they just definitely show. Just that next season, the Lakers were once again awarded with the second pick in the NBA draft, and they used that on prospect Braden Ingram. And Braden Ingram definitely had a lot of potential around his name. This guy was a really great scorer, great ISO player. He kind of really slowed down the pace of the game with his ability to score inside the paint, post up, do many great things on the basketball court. And Braden Ingram, with his time on the Lakers, he definitely improved as a player. And he took a big level up in his game, especially from his rookie season, only averaging around 9 points a game, which actually was very disappointing, to going up to 16.1 points a game. And obviously during that next season, he was on that team where they had LeBron and they had Alex Caruso. They had all these guys on this team. Braden Ingram, during that time with the Lakers, his numbers, like I said, they were improving. And Braden Ingram, if he was on the Lakers today, he would still really be a really great player in my opinion. And it was only a matter of time for him to develop and grow into a really, really great player on that team. But the Lakers decided to move on from him because of, well, obviously getting Anthony Davis. And he wasn't really a great fit around LeBron James in many people's eyes. And the Lakers did end up moving on from Braden Ingram. But Braden Ingram's time in LA, he did make an all-rookie team, and we did see him improve as a player. So if you want to look at that benefit of things, then yes, Braden Ingram definitely could have been a really great star player one day on this Los Angeles Lakers team. But now Braden Ingram is finding so much success on this New Orleans Pelicans team as one of their primary scorers. He's one most improved player. He's made an all-star appearance, and he is still on the midst of improving and growing as a basketball player. So shout out to Braden Ingram and what he's been doing despite the problems with the New Orleans Pelicans right now. Braden Ingram is definitely one of the bright spots for their franchise right now. In 2017, once again, the Lakers were awarded with the second pick in the NBA draft, and they used that to select Lonzo Ball. And, Lonzo Ball, this memory of him is still really fresh in many people's eyes in a way because, well, we all know Lonzo Ball, coming out of UCLA, was one of the most hyped prospects in a long time, and the expectation for him to be a really great player on the Lakers was very, very high. I mean, it was higher than Braden Ingram, and Braden Ingram was the second pick in that last year's NBA draft in 2016. But for Lonzo Ball, coming into his rookie season, it was definitely an up and down journey for Lonzo Ball. Remember his first game, he definitely struggled. Within his second game, he came out, he had 29 points, and there was still hope and promise for him. And Lonzo Ball, his rookie season, he didn't put up terrible numbers. He put up 10, 7, and 7. And overall, it was just not really, though, to the level that what many of us really wanted and expected from Lonzo. But Alonzo is one of the most interesting players out of all these guys because, well, Alonzo, his career has kind of remained stagnant in a way, but he actually has improved as a player. And during his time for the Lakers, his numbers were around 10 points a game at best. And he was known for being a great defender, a playmaker, all of these things. But LeBron James, bringing in LeBron James and Anthony Davis, it definitely, of course, rechanged the future of the Lakers. And for Lonzo Ball, well, he was also part of that trade, like I said earlier, and shipping him away from the Lakers. And Lonzo Ball, when you look at his numbers now compared to when he was on the Lakers, they've definitely improved. He's improved his jump shot. He's improved really every aspect of his game on the offensive end. He's a better and a more efficient player from the field compared to when he was on the Lakers. And then we have to be honest, in reality, he didn't really live up to all the expectations that was placed on him getting drafted to the Lakers. And now, he is on a great Chicago Bulls team that is one of the best teams in the entire Eastern Conference and the league in general. And he's found a way more success now than ever in his entire NBA career where he is now today. And his boy Kyle Kuzma, who was drafted in that same year later on in that NBA draft. Kyle Kuzma is another guy who really, came in and was a big surprise for the Lakers. He really came and he really changed up everything. And Kyle Kuzma, out of all these guys, was on the team the longest, of their young core of guys who they've had. And Kyle Kuzma this season, well, he's putting up big numbers. And look, in his time really with the Lakers, he always put up big numbers. His rookie season, he averaged 16.1 points a game. His sophomore season, he averaged 18.7 points a game, and that's still a career high for him. And really, you can make the argument that Kyle Kuzma really had a better chance with the Lakers than he had with any other team. And on the Wizards, he's averaging around 15.6 points a game, but many of us really expect him to really take another really big jump on a younger team with him and Bradley Beal and really all of the other Lakers players like Montrezl Harrell and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who's also on that team as well. We expected them to, take a really bigger leap on that team with the opportunity that he had. But his numbers are really still, mediocre. They're still, decent numbers at best. And maybe Kyle Kuzma, this may be the level of talent that we will see from him at his best. There's nothing wrong with that. But overall, he's still, a player who's kind of the same. And we can really make the only argument that this guy's, out of all the other guys on this list, was the only player that really did found success for the Lakers. And obviously, too, they drafted Alex Caruso. And, well, Alex Caruso is another guy who really, really grew as a player. And he is finding success on Chicago Bulls as well with Lonzo Ball. And, he's even in the possibility of winning Defensive Player of the Year. That's how good of a player Alex Caruso has become as well. And just to mention him as well on that list of guys, you can consider him on there too, because he actually really has grown as well as a player. But these are all of the guys on the Lakers that have found success elsewhere. 3 of them, D'Angelo Russell, Braden Ingram, and Julius Randle, have all made All-Star appearances. 2 of those guys, Braden Ingram and Julius Randle, have won the Most Improved Player, and Braden Ingram is still growing as a player as well, alongside Julius Randle, who's in the midst of his prime, and he is definitely heavily improved as a player compared to what he was a few